from 9 to noon.
No sign of our suspects, is that right?
On the next all-new episode of Dragon Ball Daima.
We're taking you in for questioning.
Hands off, you creep!
It appears we have no choice but to beat them.
You're off, Goku!
Dragon Ball Daima. Next Saturday at midnight. Only Toonami on Adult Swim. On the next all-new episode of Dawn to Dawn.
Grandma's super strict about boys in the house, so watch out. What's that? Sorry, Okaroon. A barrier was up.
I thought I was gonna die.
Dawn to Dawn. New episode next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. on Toonami.
Hello, listeners. It's July 24th of 2025. I'm Michael.
I'm Tommy.
And this is our podcast, Toonami Therapy, where we talk about anime and sometimes even Toonami, which we had not done for the last few weeks because it was just a bunch of, marathons. But they did have some new stuff again. We have 2 episodes of Dragon Ball Daima because, Lazarus was gone, and then everything else is just a typical stuff, really.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we do have the Dawn to Dawn coming next week. I was expecting to see a bunch of commercials for it, but I think I only saw one.
Yeah. Yeah, there was the one before Bleach, I think, or maybe before the second Dragon Ball episode.
The episode, the one I remember. Now, I admit I don't always pay complete attention to commercials, so maybe they did have one and I missed it. But the only one I remember happened midway through, when we went to the first commercial of the first Daima episode, and then they never advertised it again. From what I remember. They certainly advertised Daima a lot more, which was a little weird to me, because I'm thinking, why? Even when I'm watching Daima, I feel there were more advertisements for that. And I'm thinking, you're advertising, shouldn't you be putting more of this into the new show to get people to check it out?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a little weird. Okay, well, we'll get into that when the first episode airs, I guess, next week. So, yeah, well, we've got Dragon. We can move right into our episodes. We got 2 episodes, episodes 4 and 5 of Dragon Ball Daima. In the first episode, I can't remember. It wasn't a very interesting episode. The more interesting stuff happened in the second episode, where they meet. What was her name was Pansy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. They meet her and she is the daughter of one of the, I'm sorry, I can't remember the technical names for it. Like, was he like a demon king or something? He was something. He was some sort of like ruler around here, but like not one of like the really high ranked rulers, if that makes sense. Anyway, basically they just, they go with her because, they still need to go and rescue their friends and get all that other stuff. So basically, she's around now, which honestly I think was decent for the dynamics because the series was not really working with just Goku, Shin, and Glorio, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good thing I remembered it because Goku can't. And yeah, those were basically our episodes.
Yeah, I felt increasingly uncomfortable with this budding romance between Goku and Pansy. They they seem to be setting them up for being a couple. I'm like, isn't Goku married? So that was a little uncomfortable. Otherwise, these episodes were easy to forget, particularly the first one. That was really boring. So, but yeah, it's obvious at this point those three can't carry a show, and we need to have more of the actual characters around and not these other guys. But yeah, so mediocre first episode, a better second one, but a little uncomfortable too.
I think they were just making some brief jokes about that because I think that was kind of gone as soon as Goku said, yeah, I'm married and I got 2 kids. So I think that was just a brief thing. I guess we'll see. Maybe they'll do more, but probably not. All right. So after that, we've got Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, episode 8.
Ichigo meets Squad Zero, who show up after everything has already gone down, everything bad's already happened, and then they just show up and they're like, okay, we're taking Ichigo and some other people with us, pretty much Ichigo's pals, and then they're off to Squad Zero where they completely retcon the whole Oaken thing, that the Oaken wasn't really a key after all. It was just their bones. And yeah, so they get Ichigo there and get him into the hot springs. So this turns into a hot springs episode somehow. And yeah, so Ichigo is meeting up with these Squad Zero people who are about as unmemorable as it gets in Bleach. Like, even the Visors, who I hate with a passion, even they have more interesting character designs than Squad Zero. Squad Zero, I can't remember at least 3 of them, so maybe even 4 of them. So, yeah, but now we're gonna have Ichigo go up with Squad Zero. There was some entertainment with Soy Phone, completely giving it to the Squad Zero people because of their decision to show up after everything's been destroyed and everyone's been killed. But that doesn't go very far. And now we're going to have Ichigo go get a training arc under Squad Zero. So that's what's happening now. Overall, was it a good episode? I don't know. I'd have to go back and check my my old review of it. But yeah, that's what we got this week.
Do you want me to pull up your old review and see what you said?
No, that's okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, for me, it was, well, in regards to Squad Zero, how many did you say you thought you could remember?
1 or 2.
Okay, I think there's 3 I can remember. There's Ichibei, he's the one I remember the most. Probably because he gets the most focus, though. There's also, what's her name? The woman who of course I've already seen these when I watched it earlier, but there's a woman who in this one is kind of like, more portly, but then we find out later on, no, she's actually thin. She can like change her size or something. And then there's the Zanpakuto guy. That's the ones I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how many. Were there like 4 or 5 of them?
5, I thought.
Okay. Yeah, let me actually check into this. Yeah, there were 5. Okay, so I could remember 3 of them. Looking them up. Actually, ironically, one of the ones that I forgot was actually showed up in this episode. So he was like the main one featured in this episode, the Hot Springs guy, but I totally forgot about him. Just the other ones three of the other ones I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't have too much to add about this. Although, I'm actually not sure. This is changing. This isn't about the episode, but why do you hate the Visors again?
They're just annoying characters, that's all.
Okay. To be fair, which one Visors can I remember? There's Shinji, there's what there's the girl, the young one, I can't remember, young looking one, I can't remember her name.
Hiyori.
Okay. For some reason I was thinking Hikari, and I'm like, no, that's like Shinji's last name, but with an H on it. Why am I thinking of an H? And I guess if it's Hiyori, I just combined Ikari and Hiyori and ended up with Hikari. All right. And then there's the other, there's an old guy who got to beat. The only thing I remember about him was that he got to beat Baragon and make it so in like a really lame Deus Ex Machina way, I've thought. It's like, oh yeah, does Soy Fawn get like a cool win or something against him? No, she gets beaten, and then that other guy just shows up and beats him instead. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, did I have anything else to say? All right. So, then we got Blue Exorcist, episode 33. So, everyone's so the impure king guy is like, getting all more powerful and bad stuff, and everyone's like, okay, we gotta go and fight them and defeat them. And then there's a big thing about how, Ryuji's father had, I can't remember exactly how it went, but basically we get an explanation for the stuff he was hiding. It was because he made some sort of pact with something in order to gain the power to beat him, but it would probably kill him if he did it because it's really dangerous. So Ryuji's like, oh, okay, he didn't tell Ryuji because he didn't want to give it to Ryuji because then he would get the curse or whatever. But Ryuji's like, just give it to me and I'll do it. So they do that. And yeah, there's also Yukio, and he's fighting some guy. I legitimately cannot remember who this character he's fighting is or why we care about him. They say stuff, and I'm like, who is this character again? I almost forgot about the Yukio thing because while I remember the fight and stuff, I was like, who is this guy he's fighting again? And yep, that was my bad synopsis of the episode.
Yeah, kind of forgettable. Of everything that aired last Saturday night, even One Piece was more memorable than this, and I don't know. I feel like this series reached a point where it stopped being about Rin and his classmates and kind of became this big conspiracy thing, and as a result, the relationships between the Rin and his fellow students haven't been fleshed out as well as they were earlier, and I feel like we're missing something ever since we went to Kyoto. So yeah, just a disappointing episode. But how many seasons are there of this? There's 4 seasons of Blue Exorcist, aren't there?
That sounds right to me, but let me check. Okay, okay. What was it? We've got 4 seasons of Blue Exorcist so far. looks like of varying length. The first season was 25 episodes. This one we're in now is only 12 episodes, and then I don't know if Toonami is going to continue after that, but the season after that is another 12 episodes. Then the one after that we get that one's going to be a 24 episode one. So yeah, there's four seasons basically. If you just want to talk about like the number of curs it had, then that would be. Actually, I didn't even count. Let me just check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's 6 of those. So yeah, it is weird because throughout like when we were just getting all that like padding or like the filler stuff, I'm like, okay, this is kind of dumb, but once we're done with this, we'll get back to the actual canon and it'll be a lot more interesting. But unfortunately, the arc we went right into is less interesting than the first season was. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than the filler stuff, but it's still definitely a step down from the like the first 2/3 or whatever of season 1.
Yeah, in fact, the filler in a way had some things that were better about it than this. I thought it was pretty interesting whenever they found out that father of one of his classmates and all that. It was like, okay, it was going pretty good then, but now it's gotten a little less interesting. So hopefully we get back to some more interesting stuff here.
Yeah, well, honestly, I thought the stuff with Ryuji and his father was the most interesting part of this episode. It was a part I actually remembered. The rest of it was less interesting, including, again, Yukio just fighting some guy. Like, I know we've seen him before, but I just don't remember him at all. Maybe it's because, of the length of time or whatever, but I'm just thinking, who is this guy again? All right, so we got One Piece episode 736. All right, so after Admiral Fujitora's big apology thing, we do get confirmed what I think they implied in the previous episode, which was Fujitora saying, yeah, the whole reason I did this big show of apology was because I just wanted to make sure none of this would get covered up, because he doesn't like the whole 7 warlord system thing, which, if you've forgotten, is basically where the Navy more or less lets 7 pirates of their choice to say, yeah, you can do whatever stuff you want, just don't attack us, and occasionally do us some favors and stuff. That's why they never did anything to Doflamingo, even while he had was ruling Dressrosa like this, because he's one of the warlords. So the Navy's just like, well, as long as you aren't attacking us or anything, you're okay. And then Fujitora goes on, yeah, I stayed back and let the pirate guys do it because it was all a part of my blood, etc. All this stuff. The important thing is that this has the effect of it all going and everyone finding out about all this stuff, which was Fujitora's plan. Then we go and see all these other pirates of what they call the worst generation. And I'll be honest, as someone who knows who knows a good deal more about One Piece than you do, I remembered 3 of these guys, I think. I remembered Blackbeard. I remembered Bonnie, but that's mostly just because she got a bunch of focus later on in the manga. And then there were a few others. Yeah, it was just a matter of, yeah, you got because I was looking up and oh yeah, there's 12 pirates in this thing, and a bunch of them don't really matter. You could have probably just cut them down a bit. You didn't need all 12, but who knows? Maybe they'll all do more stuff anyway. But yeah, a whole bunch of the episode is just about that. And yeah, that's basically the episode here.
Yeah, this whole worst generation thing. Where did they get that name from?
I don't know. I guess it's just because it's a bunch of pirates that they thought were particularly, that the government thought were particularly dangerous or something. They were. I can't remember when they were first mentioned. Let me pull it up on the One Piece wiki and check again. Let's see. Where does it overview? Yeah, it's just like the top rookie pirates from 9 different crews it mentions. I can't remember if they had a name before. I'm just not sure when they were first described as such. I know we do like meet a bunch of them. We did meet a bunch of them before. So yeah, it is a kind of like weird name in some ways, but yep, that's what they're called, or the Sayaki no Sedai, as they say in Japanese. So I think even though this did, of course, have the usual One Piece padding and all that stuff, this was honestly a decent episode with some interesting things. It's a problem because of all the padding, because yeah, we see all these other random like pirates, but like originally, they just like showed up kind of briefly and then it moved on. It was one of those, hey, here's all these characters that we're presumably going to get some focus on much later on, but it's the anime, so of course it has to make them all dragged out to make this whole this like 15-page chapter into a full episode. But yeah, if you ignore the pacing problems, I thought it was decent.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I had no problem with it. So, yeah.
Okay, and then that's it for our Toonami series. Let's get on to the other series we were watching. All right, so we got Yu Yu Hakusho episode 64. So after Kuwabara apparently dies, Yusuke Toguro gets all Yusuke gets all upset and stuff about it, which makes his power go super crazy high, and now he's actually really strong and is able to fight Toguro. And then he decides, well, I guess I'll just fire one big super spirit gun blast at you with everything, and you'll try to stop it, and that'll decide who wins. So they do that. Yusuke, while I don't know if this is a case of them screaming their way into power-ups, because they already got their power-ups. It's just they're screaming a lot after getting them. So they do that, and yeah, Yusuke fires it. Kaguro tries to block it. There's a whole ton of reaction shots, even more than in One Piece, I think, to the fight. But ultimately, it overpowers Toguro. Both he and Yusuke collapse, although Yusuke is able to get back up. So yeah, he wins the whole thing then. I think this episode, I talked about like reaction shots. I thought this episode kind of had some of those issues. It kind of felt really padded out to me.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely padded out. Yeah, I felt the same way, and it felt like a very anticlimactic finish to the whole tournament. It felt like it was just all of a sudden like, okay, he got really mad, and now he won, and now that's it. And I was expecting something other than that, but I guess once you killed off Kurabara, you don't really have much else you can go with. So, yeah, it was disappointing in my opinion. I wanted to see something better than this at the end, but okay.
I think it would have worked better if it had been done shorter. I actually kind of in some ways like the idea of the fight just coming down to, here, I'll fire this thing and you'll try to stop it and we'll see who's stronger now. The problem is, if you're going to do that, you should be doing it much more quickly. Not like, I feel like this episode could have been condensed into half an episode, really. And that would have worked better. But yeah, that's the issue. I actually was wondering how this went, because I couldn't really remember how the fight went. The only thing I remembered from this part was Yusuke getting powered up after Toguro attacks Kuwabara, and then there's the part. Actually, this was one part I liked where Toguro says, "Yeah, when I said I was 100%, I wasn't being honest. That was really more like 85%. Now I'm at 100%."
At
So
least he's being honest.
yeah. So yeah, that's it. Although honestly, the best part of the episode was in the preview where Koenma like basically gives a spoiler warning.
Yeah, that was great. That was funny.
yeah, like spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was great. Oh man, anime just don't do those kind of fun preview things anymore. Really, previews in general nowadays, it seems.
Bleach had some really funny previews, which were
Mhm.
never seen on Adult Swim. But
Mhm.
I've watched all of them while rewatching the series, and a lot of them are really good. So
Yeah, like these sort of like, in character previews. They used to do this uh a lot more in anime in the past. And then they just kind of stopped, which is interesting. Like nowadays the most you get is like, you look at say like the Anne Shirley episodes, you get like a few quick clips from the next episode with no narration and that's it. So
yeah.
yeah, I kind of miss those sort of things. They were often a good opportunity to have some jokes. Come to think of it, I'm surprised One Piece hasn't been doing them. Like again, if their problem is they gotta pad stuff out, then why not have some goofy previews? You could put in some funny jokes there, maybe, and you wouldn't have to have as much, padding otherwise. I'd much rather, like, if they have to do padding, I'd rather watch some like funny episode preview stuff than the narrator giving the exact same spiel over and over.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so after that, we move on to To Be Hero X episode 8. Well, we are into another hero's story now, which is Cyan, who we actually did see a little bit of in the previous previous arc, although she didn't really do much other than sing a song. So which I guess feeds into this one. Basically, she's this girl who manages to somehow survive this plane crash, and she's found, and the guy leaves her at this orphanage, and we find out that she has insane luck in that everything works for her and all of her advice is completely correct, which people start making use of. And while even the guy in charge of the orphanage seems to be trying to be against, trying to like, make money and stuff off of it and just try to use it to help people, even that's still kind of, putting a lot of pressure on her. I mean, she effectively kind of become almost a cult is kind of made around her. But then she does meet this one guy this kid who apparently it was a little unclear whether all the catastrophes that followed him were like some sort of negative superpower or coincidence. But they get along, and then we get this fast forward where she's supposed to be singing to like the people, the sort of almost congregates, but then they just decide to make it into a rock show instead because in order to, I guess, well, you got to sell you got to put in some songs there to sell the soundtrack for the show. Then they just decide, okay, well, see y'all, we'll leave, but then the guy who was in charge of the orphanage doesn't want to let them leave, and that's the episode. So my description probably didn't sound maybe it didn't sound great, but I actually really liked this episode.
Was this a different animation than previously?
Yeah, it went so the previous to this, it's been mostly 3D and they've sometimes switched into 2D. This episode was basically entirely 2D. They just went with that style consistently, which honestly I think looked a little better on the whole.
Yeah, I lost interest a long time ago, so yeah, we're How far from the end of this?
The series, this
Yeah,
season. I think there's
season.
22 episodes were planned.
Oh my.
I'm surprised. Oh, you didn't like it? Because I thought this was like the best
Nope.
episode so far.
Nope.
I thought,
I
oh,
yeah. I kind of lost interest whenever they cut away from the storyline we started the show with, and I thought that was a great storyline, and we should have just stayed on with that. Instead, we have to introduce all these people who have almost no connection to that, and um, yeah, so not very interested right now. So yeah.
oh, well, I didn't really like the previous arc that much because it seemed kind of like too much like the first one, but this one felt different, and I was really interested in seeing what happened with the characters, honestly.
Mhm.
So it still strikes me as a little weird, this format of continually switching stuff, but I really got into this one. Okay, so we'll then move into back into the Anne Shirley episode 8. So this one, right. So Anne is trying to Anne and the others they go to this test for, I think this is like, yeah, some college entrance test. And she manages to actually get first. Well, she ties with Gilbert with it, so that's great. She does have to do a recitation of this poem, and she does it, and yeah, that works, and that works out okay. And yeah, I kind of skipped through this episode pretty quickly, I know, but so much of it is just like in the details of, worrying about, studying for it, worrying about it, doing the stuff. So yeah, I thought like the first half was more interesting than the second half. I wasn't really that into the poem recital thing, but I did find the earlier stuff more interesting.
I have a question. Like in the original, is there like do they flesh out the reason why she hates Gilbert so bad? Because it seems really ridiculous why she has this absolute hatred for Gilbert over one little incident that her other friends have done worse to her in certain situations than he ever did. And yet she has this unbridled hatred for him, which it doesn't make any sense. So I'm wondering if the original material actually fleshed out this rivalry thing,
I'm
or if it's yeah.
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the original. I've read some things like I know some of the differences because I read about them, but I haven't. But outside of like just looking at a few specific parts after watching the anime, I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I don't think there's like that much more to it. I think it is really just, yeah, she's still angry about that thing he did there. Now, maybe there's a bit more of an explanation or something, but as far as I can tell, it still is just basically her being like really weirdly stubborn about it.
Mhm.
Oh, also, I skipped over the fact, boy, Anne sure got a big growth spurt in this episode, didn't she?
Also, you skipped over that whole cliffhanger about Matthew.
Oh, right.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry. It was they just resolved it so simply. You're
yeah.
right. It was just like so he just collapsed, and then it's just like, well, he had a spell and he shouldn't be working as hard, and that was basically it.
Yeah.
You're right. I thank you for reminding me. I should have mentioned that. But yeah, it ended up seeming to be such a small thing. It's just like, well, he collapsed, but I guess he's better now. That I almost yeah, good catch. This is what one of the reasons you're on here to help me stop all the stupid things that I say. And Yeah. What I found weird, did they actually specify exactly what happened? I think they just said he had a spell, but what exactly does that mean? Like, was this like a heart attack? Was this heart a failure? Was it, like some sort of respiratory problem? It just felt kind of weird the way that we didn't get a more specific thing. Though then again, I don't know how specific they could have gotten back in the 1880s when this takes place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Kowloon Generic Romance, Episode 8.
Yeah, well, we are again in this territory where I have very little understanding of what is actually going on. I like the thing about these episodes is that I always like the old Kujirai who is having a romance, and they have these like flashbacks at the beginning of every episode, and I thought, and again, I was interested in that, and then it came to Life Now, and again, I'm really confused as to what is going on, and it's all a jumbled mess. So, yeah, unfortunately, I feel like this show has really dropped off from where it was about 4 episodes in, and not very interested in it.
I'm interested in this one because it at least seemed like we were getting a little more development in things.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I can never remember people's names outside of what was her Yao Mei. That's it.
Yeah.
Because she leaves, and we discover that yes, like the money you get from while you're in Kowloon, it doesn't transfer to the outside world apparently. So she has to get money from split tongue person. So anyway, so yeah, Yao Mei goes and tries to get information in the most reliable place ever, the internet. And she ends up talking to a guy in a chat, but it turns out it's that guy. I know we saw him several episodes ago. He was one of the other. Wasn't he working with split tongue person? Not the other guy that the other one who was with split tongue person. The other one, I think. I'm sorry. I just get some of these characters so mixed up. But then once they do that, we've gotten so basically we just find stuff like, people don't even know that there is a Kowloon place there. She just kind of ended up there almost by accident. There's some weird all that kind of stuff. And so we at least get a little more information, but at the same time, I don't know if it really was more than we kind of already knew. We took a little step forward, but didn't learn all that much. Also, Reiko and Kudo do it with each other. That was something that happened at the end you didn't mention.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that felt like really sudden too. I was just like, weren't they not even a relationship? And then suddenly we're like, yep, we're going to do it like that. But yeah, so I don't know. What I'm wondering about is I know that this is going through the plot really, really fast, is what I've heard. And from what I heard, this is just what I heard. The manga is actually, it's got all the mystery stuff, but its focus is actually much more on just like the characters' interactions and stuff. It's more like just like almost a slice of life story that's got all these mysteries and stuff in the background, Whereas the anime, because it's going through it fast, is just is focusing on the plot and not so much all of, that other stuff. On one hand, I'm thinking, wow, I don't, on one hand, if that's the case, I'm thinking, well, it's good that it, in some ways, it's going faster because it still feels like it's going kind of slowly. But on the other hand, it also maybe being so constantly confused by the mysteries would be less of an issue if the mysteries were less of a focus.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's it is funny though. I can't remember who said this. I wrote down the quote. I think it was Reiko or Yao Mei. I think, but I can't remember which one. But after someone asked them, like, you feeling okay after all this? And then she says, more than anything, I'm just confused. And I'm thinking, maybe that's how the audience is supposed to feel. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on that, or shall we move on?
I guess we can move on.
Okay. Witch Watch, episode 8.
Okay, well, first part of this episode, little lewd, I'd have to say. We have this, what's the name of the third guy again?
Khan, I thought. You mean like the Tengu guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is let me just check. Yeah, Kanshi. I think they call him Khan, but yeah, Kanshi, that's his name.
Yeah. So he has to have a part-time job, and part of his part-time job has him doing this thing, this hero type of thing. Was like, okay, how many hero shows can we watch in 1 week? But yeah, and this hero's named Otto-Man, and not like the auto as an automobile, but like as in the Otto-Man piece of furniture. And there's some stuff that goes on there that we won't talk about it too much, but yeah, so just know that some really funny stuff, but a bit lewd, occurs, and that's how his part-time job goes. The second half of the episode I thought was really funny. Basically, he's trying to do a different part-time job, and he asked Nico to allow him to work 10 times faster. So what she does is she puts a spell on him that makes him move everything go 10 times faster for him. And he thinks this is a great idea, but then what ends up happening is everything he says is too fast for anyone else to understand. Anything they say is too slow for him to understand. And he's getting hungry 10 times as fast as usual. So he's eating 10 times as much food as usual. And he's going nuts. And even though it was the spell that lasted only 3 days, for him it lasted 30 days. And eventually he starts to learn how to talk slower so they can understand him. But at the end, whenever the spell wears off, then he forgets how to talk normally again. So yeah, that's how that goes down. And that was probably my favorite portion of an episode this season. was the second portion of this episode. And that's what you have for Witch Watch this week.
Yeah. Honestly, you are really overstating the lewdness of the first half of the episode. This was like, compared to some of the stuff in Eminence in Shadow or Konosuba, this was like almost Barney the dinosaur level. But yeah, basically the joke is that the guy and the superhero's like wife is like a borderline like dominatrix over him, it seemed. So, but yeah, I thought the funniest part of the first one was when they're just walking through what's supposed to happen in the stage show, and everything is just so like stupid sounding, but it's apparently really popular. That was funny. The second one, I didn't actually quite find it as funny, but it was interesting. The author clearly actually put a lot of thought into exactly what would happen if you were moving 10 times faster. Although one thing I was a little surprised it never mentioned was, so how did that work for like the bathroom? Because that would mean he would have to be, darting in there really quickly. So how would that work if someone else was using it? Do they have multiple bathrooms? I actually suddenly realized I don't know if they do. I would assume they do because of but that's just like I'm a little surprised he didn't mention like they had to like reserve a specific bathroom for him so that he could go into it whenever he had to without disturbing the others.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I put this much thought into that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I do still also kind of think, yeah, it's my job to overthink like silly comedy episodes, but to communicate, couldn't they have just texted to each other?
Yeah, well, they wrote some stuff down at one point, and I was thinking, okay, that's all they're gonna do, but it wouldn't have been as funny that way. So
Honestly, I just think some jokes could have been done there. Like, if he like sends a text and then he has to wait a really long time for them to respond. And then whenever they send him one, they get like the thing like as soon as they hit up like send because he just types it out so fast. That kind of, so that's something there. The other thing I wanted to mention, yeah. But yeah, some good jokes here. At some point it just gets so dark, it just becomes funny, so over the top dark. Like when he's like having to go through all of it. Well, he had a better time of it than that guy who Mayuri like may hit the thing with that made him like, especially because the guy got like made super fast, but he couldn't actually like, but the way it was done where Mayuri makes him perceive everything at like, what was it, like 1,000, 10,000 times the speed. It was fast enough that like him just puncturing his heart like took like 100 years from his perspective. But that was because he was going so fast he couldn't control his body and was basically kind of stuck. It's just interesting because you recently saw that episode of Bleach and then we saw this one.
yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's Witch Watch. And any other things to discuss?
My Hero Academia.
Yeah, that I was trying to segue into that because in our kind of picked up officially, but not necessarily, we got My Hero Academia Vigilantes episode 6.
Yeah. You want to go through it?
Oh, do you want me to do it then?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I'll
okay,
let you do it.
So, all right. Only problem is I watched this episode like 2 weeks ago, so let me see what I can remember about it. All right. So we've gotten the Stendhal, something like that. But he's this guy who's got this power. If he consumes someone's blood, he can paralyze them. So he kills some guys with some bad guys with it. And then let's see, we also so the girl with the like the sort of B power sort of gets him on her side because he wants to go and kill some other bad guys, but they weren't actually like super bad guys. So the main characters are trying to stop him from doing it and getting into a fight. And then they manage to, defeat him, but he leaves, and then he, decides to mutilate his face and declares that he'll like stain the blood of society or something like that. And if you looked at all this and thought, oh wow, they're really setting up some stuff with this, I wonder when this character will show up again. He does not. You have to watch My Hero Academia if you want to see where his story ends up. Because he's apparently never shows up in Vigilantes again.
Oh, wow.
I guess that might have technically been a spoiler, but I figured it would. I should actually let people know. No, this is basically just set up for his character when he shows up in My Hero Academia. And for me, that's kind of it's a tricky thing. So this is, I don't know if, I don't think I would really call the show a prequel to My Hero Academia. It takes place beforehand, but I kind of feel prequel implies that it's supposed to lead directly into it in the way, say, like Fate Zero went right into Fate Stay Night. It's a deliberate, like it sets up plot points specifically for that series. Whereas this one, it's kind of its own more independent story, but it does involve characters from My Hero Academia and has some things that kind of set up stuff in there. But it seemed to me that in this case, because it's not really just a complete prequel in the way, again, Fate Zero was, I kind of felt that doing this sort of setup for the character when it's not going to actually pay off in this show. And to be honest, I don't think this really gives us that much extra insight to his character anyway. It kind of felt unnecessary. I feel like this could have just been like an original character for this series rather than bringing in someone from the original My Hero Academia to just kind of, just do some stuff to just set him up, but not really give us, I think, any particularly new or interesting insight about Stain. Do you even remember Stain from the original series?
It's been so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my kind of thought on it. I feel like they just put a little too much emphasis on him for a character that's just not really here for this story. It's just a sort of talking about him for the next story. That was my thoughts on it, I guess. So, did you have anything you wanted to say? You probably can remember this better than I can.
No, I don't really have anything to add. I think you covered it pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily explained things that well, but it's like the difference between when Eraserhead showed up, for example, at the end of the first episode and was a part in the second. That's again a character, he's in My Hero Academia. This takes place before, but it doesn't put as much emphasis to sort of setting up things for that series. And that's like the issue. If this was like a straight up prequel, it's a difference between a prequel and a story that takes place before another story, basically. A prequel is like more to specifically set it up, whereas a story that takes place before is really just, its own sort of thing that has some similarities and some linkings, but is different. And that's what Vigilante seems to be. And I know that because, I don't think any of these main characters, they don't, show up or play an important role in My Hero Academia until I think maybe later on they might show up, after Vigilantes actually ended. So you don't have to worry about any spoilers or anything. That's kind of the difference there. So, I mean, I thought it was decent. I just felt that, by focusing so much on Stain, I don't think it worked out well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so that's all, though. Shall we pick our favorites?
Yeah, well, I think at this point it's kind of obvious who our non-Toonami favorites who are. Yours is good. Let me guess, yours is To Be Hero X.
Yes, that was my favorite for this week.
Now
I
you can
really thought
guess
it did a
mine.
lot to like I thought compared to the last few episodes it was a big improvement. But yeah. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Now you can guess what mine is.
All right. Do you want me to give a real guess or a joke guess?
A real guess.
Okay, Witch Watch.
Yeah. So,
But
yeah, but
in regards to, but we also should talk about our favors for the Toonami series,
oh, right,
which
that's a little more difficult. Go ahead, you go first.
yeah, we all yeah you almost forgot because we haven't had to do it for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Uh,
I did.
that's a little bit of a tricky one between them. Yeah, I did actually like One Piece, the padding aside, whereas Bleach I thought was just kind of okay, but still more interesting than Daima. I mean, Daima might have been a candidate if not for that really underwhelming first episode. So I think, you know what, I get the feeling that that because have I given all of my previous ones for a while to Bleach? Did I pick anything other than that? I feel like I've been I should be keeping track of these. I'm going to say One Piece because I'm pretty sure it's dominated by Bleach and I want to give credit to something else.
Yeah, mine is Bleach. So, yeah.
All right. So, anything else to talk about things, I guess?
I don't really have anything to add. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that I happened to watch this this actually Spanish sort of comedy thing called El Chapulín Colorado, which means the red grasshopper. It's actually they're actually showing it on TV even though now because it was from like the 1970s. It was just a sort of like comedy parody of superhero shows. It was actually really funny, I thought. I'm not going to go through all of it, but basically if you need to the opening like monologue basically tells you what to expect from the show, where it's saying, okay, more agile than a turtle, stronger than a mouse, nobler than lettuce. His shield is a heart. He's the red grasshopper. And that kind of tells you the kind of jokes this series is going to have. And I thought it was really funny. So I don't know if anyone actually understands Spanish well enough. I actually recommend checking out this show. I thought it was really funny. Beyond that, one interesting thing that I actually saw, I might as well talk about this article. I thought this was interesting because apparently there was, there were like some recent articles about, dubs anime and stuff. And I kind of always thought that like subs, a lot more people were watching those, but apparently it's like, no, like in terms of like online streaming stuff, it's totally dominated by the dubs, which is especially for Netflix. It seemed there was this one, it was on like animecorner.me. They were mentioning about how the Crunchyroll president mentioned that the UK, that region accounted for the highest proportion of anime sub watchers, with 48% of the users watching subbed. So that means if that's the highest, that means everyone is at least 52% are watching dubbed. So, and the reason apparently it was way higher in Netflix. Anyway, the only reason I mentioned that was a number that I thought was really surprising for this. It apparently, again, on Crunchyroll, again, this is an article on animecorner.me. Apparently, and this actually stays great from what I was talking about. It mentions that the Spanish dubs account for like 40% of the viewing on the site, which is gigantic. And I'm like, wow, that's high. I didn't know there were that many people watching it, not just in Spanish, but watching specifically dubbed in Spanish, which might explain why there's so many dubs in that language now on the site. Before this, I kind of thought, yeah, there's obviously a lot of people who will do that, but that was just a very interesting statistic for me. I didn't say what percentage were English dubs, but I'm thinking, wow, if there's that's a high amount. Anyway, don't know if any of that was anything interesting to anyone, but I figured I might as well just throw it out. So with that, I suppose we're done with this episode of Toonami Therapy. We'll be back next week for more stuff and the new series on Toonami, and we may or may not watch another episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes. It's a surprise, but we probably will. Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Anything? Well, you already said you didn't have much else to say, so that'll be it. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Supreme Kai, is this?
Seems so. Do you sense it too, Kibito?
It could only be.
We won't be intimidated by criminal threats.
You've got something, and I want it.
Every Saturday night at midnight, Adult Swim is building you a better cartoon show.
We call it Toonami.
Prepare at once for an attack that could come at any time.
Team 1, you're coming with me. Our weapons can't even touch them.
Oh, I beg to differ.
We'll be safe here.
We got the enemy right outside our door.
Your demise is long overdue.
If that's how you want to play.
I won't quit till I achieve my destiny.
Toonami, every Saturday starting at midnight.
Is your body getting warmer? On Adult Swim.
Keep your heads down and hang on tight.